In this video, we're going to learn how to derive the quadratic formula. So we're going to solve the general quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So in order to do this, we're going to use completing the square, which requires us to get our x terms on one side by themselves first. So we'll subtract c from each side of the equation, giving us a x squared plus bx is equal to negative c. Then it requires us to get the x squared term, the ax squared term, just to be x squared. So to do this, we'll divide everything by a, which will leave us with x squared plus b over a x is equal to negative c over a. And now we can complete the square, which means taking half of that coefficient in front of x and squaring it, and then adding that to both sides of the equation. So half of this squared would be b over 2a squared which would give me b squared over 4a squared. So I'm going to add that to both sides of the equation, which leaves me with x squared plus b over a b over a x, and then plus this expression, plus b squared over 4a squared is equal to, I'll even put it first, b squared over 4a squared minus c over a. Now I'm going to create the binomial squared on my left, which will be x plus half of that coefficient in front of x, so it'll be b over 2a squared, and on the right I'm going to find a common denominator, which is going to be 4a squared. The way I'm going to get that is to multiply my c over a by 4a on top and bottom, so that I'll get 4a squared in its denominator. And that leaves my numerator to be b squared minus 4ac. Now I will take the square root of both sides of my equation. So the square root of x plus b over 2a squared is equal to the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Now the square root of x plus b over 2a squared is the absolute value of x plus b over 2a which will be equal to the square root of b squared minus 4ac over the square root of 4a squared which now to get rid of the absolute value, I'll make the right side plus or minus. So I'll have x plus b over 2a is equal to positive or negative the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over the square root of 4, which is just 2, and square root of a squared, which is just a. And then I can subtract b over 2a, giving me x is equal to negative b over 2a plus or minus the square roots of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And then I can notice here that they have a common denominator. So lastly, I get my formula. X is equal to negative of b plus or minus the square roots of b squared minus 4ac and both of those terms will be all over 2a. And this is what we call the quadratic formula. Because now I've basically solved every quadratic equation since a, b, and c can be any value. And I can plug those into this formula and it'll give me the two solutions that x would equal. And that is how you derive the quadratic formula.